welcome back to Moving Forward, where we discuss community affairs and meet local people with intriguing stories. I'm your host, Ellen Coppy, and we are here at the National Inventors Hall of Fame School in downtown Akron with the school's principal, Tracy Buckner. Thanks so much for having us here.
You're welcome. Thank you for showcasing our school.
Yes. Well, can you start by telling some of the history? It's very new about how it got started, though.
Sure. Our school began in 2009, while the idea started several years ago with our past superintendent, Sylvester Small, and also Beth Strobel at the University of Akron. She was the vice provost there. They started talking about ways to make an impact on the economic future of the city of Akron, and through that developed our school. Our current superintendent, David James, and many of the business partners in the community got together and started to think about how could we make an impact on the lives and the futures of our children beyond high school and even beyond college, and hence the idea of a middle school came to be.
So the grade level, that was what I was going to touch on next. How come not an older one? How come they wanted to start younger?
Well, when the people got together and started thinking about ways that they could make an impact as early as possible, they thought high school might be a little bit too late. Children tend to sort of form their opinions about what they're good at and what they're not so good at. So we thought we'd reach them at the 5th grade level. So we actually teach 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. At 5th grade, they're still easy to mold.
Yes. So what about the overall goals of the school? How would you pinpoint them?
Well, we look for learners who are curious, who are independent workers, but also able to collaborate. We focus heavily on 21st century skills so that we can make sure that kids are prepared to work in the workforce, and we know that as adults we work on teams all the time, but we also have moments where we have to do research on our own. So that's the type of child and the type of learner that we look for, someone who is excited about learning, who enjoys math and science, and is looking for an opportunity to start at an early age to prepare for their future.
Yes. Well, actually, reporter Antoinette George recently had the chance to see firsthand everything that takes place here. Let's take a look.
All right, so what we have here is the National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM School for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. It's great working with the kids because you see how science and technology changes these kids' lives and the influence of that technology and the science and the education they're actually getting here.
We changed the nomenclature at our school, so our teachers are considered learning coaches, and our students, we call them learners.
It's a very fun and upbeat environment, very positive atmosphere to see all these kids surrounded by things that they're infatuated with.
We have the privilege of having a partnership with Invent Now, which is an exciting component for our kids to really help us see our vision through of making sure that we are producing creative children, children who can be innovative.
The kids come in and work in the museum, serve as docents. They'll give tours to the public. They'll also help with the retail section. They'll help with the museum part. They're very good at engaging with the public and explaining what the school is here for and why they're learning what they're learning and what they want to do when they grow up.
Each tour guide has three different things that they present. I present the neon light, the propellant, and the microscope thing.
Normally my job is a salesman, so I usually restock the shelves and I try to sell products.
The type of kid that we attract to our school is a kid that is responsible but also curious, and one that gets excited about learning.
Hello, I'm Ellen Coppy, and we just watched a brief story about the National Inventors Hall of Fame School, and we're on location with Principal Tracy Buckner to learn even more about this. Can you start about your history and how you got started here?
Sure. I've been within the Akron Public Schools for almost 13 years. I originally started in business and received my education at The Ohio State University. So I studied marketing and communication, and later decided that I wanted to make a different impact to society and decided to go back and obtain my education certification. So I went to John Carroll. I'm an Ohio girl, born and raised in Northeast Ohio, and my husband is actually a product of the Akron Public Schools, and his family is a long time history with the Akron Public Schools. And so I thought this would be a wonderful place to work and also to raise a family. So when the idea came about for the school, I thought that my skill set would be perfect, and there were quite a few people that were interviewed for the position, and luckily they thought that I had the skills to be able to be a part of a creative environment, a learning environment for children.
Yes. Well, what drew it, instead of the interviewing process and everything, was your passion to come here?
My passion is just simply I want to be able to help children realize the best that exists in them. And I believe that if you give children an opportunity to be creative, there are endless possibilities of what they can achieve. And our environment is a very unique environment that offers children an opportunity to not only learn the math and sciences, but also to be exposed to the engineering field and to the digital literacy field and the 21st century literacy skills. Oftentimes people think that we are just learning math and science here, and we're a comprehensive middle school. We offer language arts and social studies. We also offer choir, band, and we also offer visual art. So it's an exciting place to be on a daily basis for kids. We're exposing them to engineering at an early age. They're actually programming robots and learning 3D software and doing remarkable things in the classroom.
Is there anything from your previous teaching experience to now that's changed as your principal here or being at this school?
I think the most things that I believe have changed, simply just thinking. A lot of people say thinking outside of the box, but I really do try and make sure that I don't keep my ideas inside the box, and that I believe that if we can think of something that's possible, that we can actually make it occur. And I want children to understand that, you know, possibilities are endless for them, and I just want to help them to be able to realize those possibilities.
You've mentioned that it is a comprehensive middle school, but there is a focus on the math and sciences. Yes. Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. One of the cornerstone strategies of our school is problem-based learning. And that's just a strategy that allows children to think critically, to problem solve. The purpose is to give children, present them with authentic problems that exist in our community that affect them or their families on a day-to-day basis. We present the problem to them, and then we think of ways that the children come up with possible solutions for these problems. We have a unique partnership with Invent Now, and we've had several inductees who have been to our school and worked directly with our learners. Jim West, who's the inventor of the electric microphone, was here, and just recently Stephen Sasson was here, and he's the inventor of the digital camera, and had an opportunity to work with our children also.
Wow, so there's definitely a lot of creativity flowing through these halls. What about this creativity? How can you touch base of its importance that you feel? You
know, oftentimes families will say, what can I do to foster creativity within my child? And there are certain games that children can play that allow them to think and think critically. In addition to that, to be creative, you simply just need time and you need space. And our schedule is designed so that it's flexible in nature, and we're able to do different unique things with the kids, whether it's providing them enrichment opportunities where they can actually think of something that excites them, but also covers an academic standard.
Also, in the story that we saw with the creativity and everything else going on, there's also an emphasis on learners and coaches versus students and teachers.
Sure.
Can you explain a little bit of that?
Absolutely. We, when the people who got together, there were many, many committees from the unique partnerships that we have that thought it would be important to make sure that we change the nomenclature, because we really want to change the way that people think about learning and about teaching. So our teachers are called learning coaches, and we call our children learners. And I'm actually considered the instructional leader as opposed to the building principal. And with changing the nomenclature, you sort of begin to change the mindset of people.
Yes. Well, that's a really interesting insight. And with this Invent Now that you mentioned a little bit earlier, can you explain that a little more to us about what that is?
Invent Now is actually formerly the National Inventors Hall of Fame Foundation. And they are actually housed right here in our building. They are a museum space, and they're open daily to the public. It's also free to the public. You may remember Inventor Place. And in fact, our school was renovated. It used to be Inventor Place, and now it's actually a learning space and environment. So it's a very exciting place to be. Our partnership with them is very rich. We have the privilege of being able to have the children work hand in hand with inventors, and I believe that my children are future inventors.
Yes, we saw some of that in the story, the kids speaking about their experiences. What other experiences have you seen from the kids?
We participate in a lot of unique opportunities. One is the Invention Convention, where children are actually creating their own inventions and they're competing. And it's a competition that's sponsored by Time Warner Cable, and it's held in Cleveland. We had a learner, one of our children, who created the water dog, and it was simply a mechanism to be able to help the elderly so that they don't have to bend down to fill the water bowl up, but they press a lever and it refills the water bowl. That was an exciting one.
Yes. And how do you see this invention impacting the kids? How does it benefit them?
We like to emphasize that inventions are something that should be useful to society, and it impacts them because it makes them feel important, because they're making a contribution and giving back to society in some way through their ideas and their thoughts.
Aside from Invent Now and the creativity, how do they overall respond to the school?
The kids love the school, and I remember when we first opened, and there was a child who was kind of skipping down the stairs one morning before school began, and I said, "What are you so happy about?" He's like, "Oh, I just love coming to school." I was like, "Why?" He said, "It's like summer camp every single day." So we hope that the manner in which we teach is engaging for children and makes them want to come back each day.
What about the parents' reactions? What do you see in that?
Well, we get feedback from our families from time to time, and a lot of them are really pleased. Particularly, I can recall them mentioning the problem-based learning strategy that we use. They said that kids are not just memorizing what they're being taught, but they are actually recalling information, and you can ask them months later about something like renewable energy. What do you remember about that? And it's in them, and they've learned it, and they can reiterate it.
Now, right now we're in one of the normal classrooms, but you have many classrooms here they were showing us. Can you tell us about them?
Well, the classrooms are designed so that we can be flexible with our space. And as you can see, the desk here is not your typical triangular shape. And the desks are created to work in pods, so children are typically not in rows here in our school. They're actually working together in teams. And the walls that exist in our classrooms they're modular, so they open up and we have a larger space so that if we're collaborating with another content area, we focus on integrating the content areas together so children understand the connection between the different content areas, that math somehow affects engineering, that language arts and social studies have a connection. So it's a very unique space, and we're really excited about being able to have the kids in this flexible space.
Is there any special stories you can share about your experience?
A special story about my experience. I'll tell you that one of the favorite times of the day for me is really our morning meeting, where we're able to meet in a large community. Our entire student body, our learners, they're all there, all 400 of us in the morning, and they meet by advisory groups. So they're in groups of about 15 kids. Our advisory groups are really just a time for the children to be able to connect together socially. We believe that's just as important as the academic component. We want to make sure that we are fostering a well-rounded child. We come together in the morning meeting, we get excited and pumped up for the day. We celebrate the successes of our kids, whether it's the Lego League team that competed over the weekend, or the Invention Convention, or we just went to the Akron Canton Food Bank, one of the advisory groups, and they were able to share pictures of their experience. And then at the end of our morning meeting, they all recite the Learner's Pledge, and then they're charged to begin their day.
What would you say is where you want this to move in the future?
In the future, I really want to move towards a place where the children are creating on a regular basis. And so I really dream of a tinkering room, and it makes me think back to when the actual museum was here. I really want a space for the children to be able to tinker. I believe that that's important, and it helps foster creativity also, so they can take things apart and build things back together. So that's one of the areas that I'm working on.
Yes. Well, it would be interesting to see where this all moves. Thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
with us, or
Thank
letting
you.
us come here to you. Here on Moving Forward today, we learned from Cheryl Biddle, the founder and executive director of Alliance for Healthy Youth, and Tracy Buckner, the principal of National Inventors Hall of Fame School, both which are working to enrich the lives of our youth. To learn more about today's topics, as well as us here on the Moving Forward team, please visit our website, ztvmovingforward.com. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, ZTV Moving Forward, to follow all of our updates and plans for each week. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to next time here on Moving Forward.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. To find out how you can make Emmy-winning media, visit the UA School of Communication online. ZTV. Make media. Make a difference.